Well, hello, my name's Phill Dobie and I'm a senior fellow here at the World Agroforestry Centre. Drylands are clearly areas where there is low and erratic rainfall, where there are frequent droughts, and where agriculture and livestock rearing have had to adapt to very low levels of moisture in the soil. The drylands are distributed across all of the continents of the world. They're predominantly present in South Asia and in Africa. Africa is in fact over 60% drylands. That's after you remove the Sahara and the Kalahari from the equation. The bits that are left are over 60% dryland, so they present a very large part of the environments of Africa. In South Asia, there are very large drylands areas, and in Latin America, even in places like the coast of Peru and some of the high Andean areas, and in the Gran Chaco, in the center of the continent, there are very, very significant areas of dryland. Now, with 42% of the Earth's coverage, that means it's actually very significant for human development. And very importantly, the United Nations Environment Programme tells us that somewhere between 60 and 70% of the drylands are already dangerously degraded. So we have a large amount of the world that we really must take seriously. Now, in these drylands environments, trees bring many, many benefits. Unfortunately, trees have been the first victims of a great deal of the degradation that's happened. So where there used to be quite extensive drylands forests and places where animals could use those trees and where farmers could use the trees, those trees have been removed. Now, the benefits that they bring include improving soil fertility, providing timber, providing fuel wood, providing fruit, providing medicinal plants, providing all sorts of other things that people use. And in the drier areas, which are used mainly for pastoralism, in other words for livestock production, the trees themselves are a source of food for the animals. There is tremendous potential for agroforestry in the drylands of the world. What we're seeing is poor families in drylands living in areas where trees have been removed, and this causes them great hardship. They have too little fuel to cook with. They don't have the very many benefits that trees bring. Now, in the parts of the drylands where there's enough moisture for agriculture, the trees become an integral part of the agricultural system. They provide fertilizer for the soil. They improve the quality of the soil, as a result of which they improve the productivity of the crops that are growing there. They also provide very direct benefits in the form of timber for building with, fencing, keep the animals in or out. They will provide fuel wood, which is of absolute vital importance in the poorer parts of the world. And they produce fodder for animals. The World Agroforestry Centre is doing a great deal of work in the drylands of the world, particularly in South Asia and in Africa. We are working, for example, in West Africa to understand better the great successes that farmers have had in reintroducing trees to huge areas of the Sahel. We know that nearly 5 million hectares of the Sahel have been reforested by farmers themselves over about the last 20 years. This is a great success, and we're trying to learn how it's been done, what the benefits are, and how this can be extended to other parts of the world. This is allowing the restoration of what have been described as parklands in the Sahel, where we get this intimate connection between crop production and the trees which have produced the benefits that we're talking about. Now, fortunately, there is huge potential for agroforestry in the drylands. Farmers understand the great damage that has been done by the removal of the trees, and although they have huge challenges, we're seeing increasingly how people in the drylands are doing their best to restore trees to the environment where they used to be. We know a great deal about the benefits that trees bring, and our job, frankly, is to help to bring about those benefits for more and more poor people. We know that we can introduce trees with multiple purposes into agricultural systems in the drylands. We know that the benefits of those trees extend to the feeding of livestock in the drylands. Perhaps a greater challenge that we have to look into the future is how do you actually help the preservation and the extension and the greater expansion of tree cover in the areas where there are mobile pastoralists, In other words, where people move around with their animals, go from place to place, and in many places depend upon the tree and the shrub cover that they find when they go there. That, I would say, is the scientific challenge for the future. We now have so much evidence of the harm that's been caused by the removal of trees and the benefits that can be brought about by the reintroduction of trees. And our job in the World Agroforestry Centre is to do the research so that we understand how to best reintroduce trees, how to best use trees as part of farming systems and as part of agro-pastoral systems.